Jake sat on the cold metal bench, staring at the wall in silence. The spaceship was quiet, except for the hum of engines. He had been moved from the battlefield just yesterday. His body was tired, his mind was tired. He just wanted peace. But peace was not what he got. Zura, the alien girl with glowing green eyes and sharp silver hair, stood across the room. She was tall, graceful, and proud. Her skin shimmered like ice under light. She had been assigned to observe the human, not help him, not guard him, just poke around, and poke she did. First, it started with questions. Why do humans sleep so much? Why do you breathe so loudly? Is your brain slow or just simple? Jake didn't answer. He looked calm, quiet, and harmless. Zura narrowed her eyes. She didn't like being ignored. On her planet, silence meant weakness. She stepped closer to him and poked his shoulder with one long, silver finger. Jake didn't move, so she did it again. Poke, poke, poke. Still he sat still like a rock. You're not interesting, she said with a smirk. Humans are boring. No power, no beauty, just soft and weak. Jake slowly blinked but said nothing. Zura tilted her head. She wanted a reaction. She needed it. Everyone else reacted to her. She was special. She was royalty. But this human, this quiet, stubborn human, was doing nothing. So she pushed harder. She walked around him in slow circles, poking his back, his arm, even flicking his ear. She laughed loudly. Do you not feel pain, or are you just pretending to be strong? Jake took a deep breath. For a second, his hand twitched, but then went still again. Zura's smile faded for a moment. What's wrong with you? Asked, voice sharper now. Say something. Are you deaf or dumb? Jake slowly turned his head toward her. Their eyes met, and for the first time, Zura paused. Jake's eyes were glowing not fully, just a soft red ring around his pupils. Flickered once, then faded. Zura blinked. Your eyes. What was that? Jake looked away again. Don't poke me again, he said, voice low and calm. Zura's pride burned. Or what? She snapped. He didn't answer. She stepped forward quickly and jabbed his chest with both fingers. Poke. Jake stood up. He was taller than she expected. Broader, too. His quiet body now looked like a silent storm. Zura stepped back without meaning to. Her heart beat faster. Jake leaned in close. Last warning, he whispered. Don't. But Zura was no coward. She was born in battle. She had trained with warlords. No human was going to scare her, so she smirked again and poked him. One last time, Jake moved faster than she could see. He grabbed her wrist, not hard, not to hurt, but firm. She gasped. No one had touched her like that before. He pulled her close, his breath warm on her face. I said stop, he growled, and then without warning, he bit her, just a quick bite on her hand. Sharp, sudden, electric. Zura gasped loudly and pulled back. Her skin was not broken, but it burned. She looked at her hand in shock. You bit me, she shouted. Jake sat back down. You wouldn't stop, he replied. Zura held her wrist, confused, but not angry. Her body was reacting strangely. Her heart raced, her skin tingled, and her thoughts felt scattered. She looked at Jake again. He had returned to his silent pose, calm, unreadable. But now Zura couldn't stop looking at him. His bite did something. More than just hurt. Something. Deep. Something strange. She didn't understand it yet. But deep inside, she knew. This human was not like the others. Asterisk Zura couldn't sleep. Her hand still tingled where Jake had bitten her. The mark was gone. No blood, no bruise, yet something inside her felt wrong. Or maybe to right. She wasn't sure. The alien girl lay in her sleeping pod, eyes wide open, playing the moment again and again. That human had touched her, bitten her. He defied her. No one ever dared to do that. Her mind was filled with questions. Why did he bite? Me. Why did it feel so strange? Why can't I stop thinking about it? She sat up and looked at her hand under the soft blue light of the chamber. The skin looked normal, but when she pressed her fingers to it, a warm shock ran through her entire arm. Not pain, more like a signal, a connection. Meanwhile, Jake sat alone in the ship's dark storage bay. No lights, no sound, just shadows. In his own breath, he knew what he had done. The bite wasn't just a warning. He had felt it to the spark, the pull, the strange energy that passed from his teeth to her skin. It had begun. He clenched his fists. I didn't want to do that, he whispered to himself. But she left me no choice. Later that night, Zura wandered the halls, her feet silent against the floor. She told herself she was checking on the prisoner. But deep down, she just needed to see him. She found Jake sitting on the floor, leaning against a crate, eyes closed. You're not sleeping, she said coldly. I don't sleep much, Jake replied, without opening his eyes. Zura crossed her arms. What did you do to me? Jake opened one eye. I warned you. It wasn't a normal bite, she said. It felt like something entered me, like something changed. Jake didn't answer. Zura took a step closer. Tell me now. Jake stood up slowly. He looked tired, but not weak. You wouldn't understand, he said. Try me, she snapped. Jake stared at her for a long moment. Then he asked, have you ever heard of soul tagging? Zura blinked. That's a myth. A human story. It's real, Jake said. At least for some of us. Zura's face turned pale silver. Jake took a deep breath. Some humans, only a few, were born with something ancient in their blood. If we bite someone with matching energy, it forms a link. Zura shook her head. You're lying? Am I? Jake asked. Then why do you feel what I feel? Mouth open, but no words came out because it was true. Since the bite, she felt something strange. Sadness, control, and something deeper. She had seen flashes of memory. Memories that weren't hers. A war. A burning planet. A little girl screaming. She looked into Jake's eyes. I saw something last night, in a dream. Fire everywhere. Was that yours? Nodded slowly. Yes. Zura stepped back, heart pounding. You put your memories inside me? No, he said. They just come. That's what happens after a bite like that. We're connected now. Zura's body trembled. Not from fear. From confusion. She had spent her whole life above others. Stronger, faster, better. Now she felt tied to a human. Human who sat in shadows and spoke like thunder. She hated it. And yet she didn't want to run. Jake sat down again. You should go, he said. Hey, the link gets stronger the more we talk. Zura didn't move. Her pride said leave, but something inside her whispered stay. I don't like this. She whispered, neither do I. Jake replied. They sat in silence for a long time. Then Zura asked one last question. Is there a way? To break it? Jake looked down. Yes, he said. How? Jake looked up, eyes glowing faintly again. One of us has to die. Zura woke up gasping. Her heart was racing. Her skin was cold. But it wasn't her dream. It was his. She had seen it again, Jake, standing in the middle of fire, blood on his hands. Screaming a name she didn't recognize. She sat up in her sleeping pod, sweating. Her mind was spinning. This can't be real. Can't. But it was. Ever since the bite, she was changing. Her thoughts were not just her own. She could feel Jake's emotions like echoes in her chest. Fear, regret, rage, and something else. What? Softer, across the ship, Jake sat alone in the dark. Staring at his hands, he knew Zura had seen it. She had entered his memory again. He could feel her presence inside his mind, like a soft wind blowing through closed doors. He didn't want this. Not again. The last time he had bitten someone like this, they didn't survive. Later that day, Zura entered the ship's control room. She was pale. Her usual pride and sharp words were gone. Jake looked at her quietly. You dreamed again? He asked. Zura nodded. I saw fire. People dying. You were. Lost. Crying. Jake didn't react, Zura sat down beside him. She never sat near humans, but today she did. "What happened to that girl in your memory?" she asked. Jake closed his eyes. "She died because of me." Zura felt a sharp pain in her chest, but it wasn't her pain, it was Jake's. She clutched her shirt and gasped. "Stop it," she said. "I don't want to feel this. You can't stop it," Jake whispered. "The connection is growing. Deeper, stronger." Zura shook her head. "No, I don't want to feel your guilt, your sadness. I didn't ask for this." Jake looked at her, eyes calm but tired. "You kept poking a sleeping wolf." That night, Zura locked herself in the bedroom. Abis. Scanners, brain readers, even energy dampeners. She wanted the bond gone, but no machine could remove it. Not even her own power could cut it, every time she tried. The connection fought back like a living thread between their souls. Suddenly, the lights flickered. Zura looked up. The room turned cold. The scanners beeped, detecting a surge of power, but not hers. Jake entered. His eyes were glowing again. Zura stood still. Her mouth opened, but no words came. "I told you," Jake said. "You can't break it." Zura's body trembled. "I'm not afraid," she lied. Jake stepped closer. Then, "Why are you shaking?" Zura clenched her fists. "'Cause I don't want to feel weak." Jake's voice dropped. "Maybe you're not weak. You're just becoming more human." Those words stabbed her pride, but they also made her think. For the first time in her life, Zura didn't want to fight. "Why?" "Me," she whispered. Jake looked at her for a long time. "'Cause you matched. Not in body, but in pain." Shh. Silence. Zura looked down at her hand, the same hand he had bitten. It no longer burned. Now it glowed faintly like it was alive. She whispered, "What's happening to me?" Jake stepped forward and gently touched her wrist. "Zura didn't pull back," he said quietly. "You're becoming something new." Later that night, Zura stood in front of the mirror. Her eyes, one of them was turning red, just like his. Asterisk the trial. Chamber was cold and silent. Blue walls reached high into the ceiling, glowing with alien runes. 7 elders sat in a half circle, their faces hidden behind silver masks. Their voices were connected through thought. No sound, only pressure. Only judgment. Zura stood in the center. Alone, Jake was behind her, dash chained. He wasn't afraid, but Zura was. Not for herself. For him, just hours before, a high alert signal had been sent to the elders. An alien royal was bitten by a human. The laws are broken. It didn't matter that Zura was still standing. It didn't matter that Jake had saved her in more ways than one. A bite was a crime, especially from a human. The elder in the middle leaned forward. "State your accusation." Zura raised her chin. Her voice was sharp, but her hands trembled. "Jake bit me, but I do not seek punishment." "Do you deny it caused a mental bond?" Zura hesitated. "No, the bond is real." Gasps filled the minds of all present. Then the human is dangerous. The bond must be broken. He must be erased. Zura's eyes widened. "No, you don't understand. He didn't attack me. I provoked him. She paused. "I didn't stop." The elders turned toward Jake. "Humans speak. Did you intend harm?" Jake's voice was low, calm. "I told her to stop. She didn't. I warned her. She laughed. So I bit her with intent." Shh. Jake paused. "Yes." Another wave of shock moved through the chamber. Zura clenched her fists. But Jake spoke again. "I didn't bite her to hurt her," he said. "I bit her because I knew she matched me." The elders remained silent for a moment, then matched. "You claim this was instinct?" Jake nodded. "Yes, I felt the call. I felt it once before. It ended badly." Zura looked at him, confused. This was new. He had never mentioned another match. The elder on the left asked, "Do you accept the bond, Zura?" She hesitated. The whole chamber seemed to hold its breath. If she said no, Jake would be executed. She said yes. Her life would never be the same. She looked at Jake. His hands were bruised from the cuffs, but his eyes were strong, not begging, just waiting. Zura finally said, "I accept the bond." A sudden red glow appeared between them, visible only for a second. The elders saw it too. The bond was sealed, but not everyone was pleased. A shadowed figure stood in the back, General Krothzura's cousin and the next heir in line. He stepped forward. This human has done something no outsider ever dared. He's poisoned her. We don't know what this bond truly is. Zura turned sharply. It is not poison. Then prove it, Kroth said. If the bond is harmless, let's test it. Let's separate you for 24 hours and monitor your minds. Zura hesitated. Jake simply said, "Fine." They were taken to opposite ends of the ship. Jake placed in a dark steel cell with energy dampeners. Zura was locked in a glowing chamber with her vitals scanned every second. Within minutes, both started to weaken. Zura held her head in pain. Her chest hurt. Her vision blurred. "Something's wrong," she gasped. Across the ship, Jake was on his knees. Breathing heavily, he saw flashes, Shura falling, screaming, her memories pouring. Into him too fast. The connection wasn't weakening. It was fighting back. The bond didn't want them apart. Alarms blared. Energy levels spiked in both rooms. Zura's powers surged out of control, throwing furniture into the walls. Jake began to glow, his skin sparking red light. The entire ship shook, then dashed silence. And in that silence, Zura's eyes rolled back. She collapsed. The lights were dim. The air was still. Zura lay motionless on a healing bed, glowing wires connected to her arms, her chest rising slowly. Machines hummed softly around her, reading vital signs and stable. But alive, Jake stood beside her, free from his cell. The elders had no choice. Separating them nearly killed her. Now, they were afraid, not of Jake, but of what they had become, together. Zura opened her eyes, blurry ceiling, cold air, strange silence, but then warmth. Jake's presence. Not touching her, not speaking, but she could feel him like a fire standing near ice. Her mouth was dry. What happened? Jake looked at her carefully. Tried to test us. The bond fought back. Zura blinked slowly. Her whole body felt wrong. Heavy. Unstable. Her thoughts came in strange bursts. Like broken signals. She sat up, then gasped. The room shook. Her eyes glowed bright red. Her hands sparked with energy. The machines around her began to beep. Wildly, Jake rushed forward. "Breathe, Zura. Calm down." I can't," she whispered. "It's too much. Something's inside me." Jake grabbed her shoulders gently. "It's the bond. It's alive in both of us now. You're fighting it." Zura pushed him back. Her pride still burned. "I'm not weak. You're not," Jake said. "But right now, you're not in control either." Zura's breath caught. She looked at her hands. They were shaken not from fear, but from too much power. Jake stepped closer again. "Shh." The voice was softer now. "You remember how you kept poking me? Like I was some animal?" Zura looked away. Jake continued. "You thought I was weak because I didn't react." She said nothing, but now he added, "You're the one falling apart, and I'm still standing." Zura's pride cracked. For the first time in her life, she wasn't the dominant one. She stood up suddenly. Her knees almost gave out, but Jake caught her. She looked at him with fire in her eyes. "I don't need help." Jake raised an eyebrow. "Sure, that's why you almost hit the floor." She pulled away. "It's power inside me's not mine. It feels human." Jake nodded. "Because the bond gave you part of me. Just like I carry part of you now." Zura stumbled back. "I don't want that," Jake replied quietly. "Then why do I feel your fear? Why do I hear your thoughts? When you sleep?" Zura froze, because it was true. She had whispered his name in a dream, and Jake had heard it. She whispered now. "Why didn't you tell me you matched before?" Jake looked down. "Because the last time I matched someone, they lost control. 2, and I couldn't save them. Zura felt her chest tighten. She understood now. This wasn't just power. It was pain, shared burden. The door opened suddenly. General Croth entered, armed and angry. You will both be locked until we find a cure, he snapped. Jake stepped in front of Zura. You try to cage us again, it won't end like last time. Croth laughed. You think you can stop me, human? I don't need to, Jake said calmly. She will. Croth turned to Zur. She was glowing now, her whole body lit like a burning star. Her voice was low but powerful. I'm not your experiment anymore, she said. And if you touch him again, I'll show you what this bond really means. Croth hesitated for the first time. He stepped back without another word, then left. Zura turned to Ed slowly. Her voice was softer now. Thank you. Jake nodded. No more poking, he said with a faint smile. Zura laughed just a little, and then she whispered, I don't want to control everything anymore, not if it means losing myself. Jake looked at her with quiet strength. Let me help you. We balance each other. Zura looked at him, didn't look away. Not this time. Asterisk, the stars outside the ship burned quietly, but inside, everything was changing. Zura sat alone in her quarters, staring at her reflection. Face looked the same yet completely different. Her skin glowed faintly. One eye was red, the other still silver. Her heartbeat no longer followed a normal rhythm. It beat in time with someone else's joke, even now. She could feel him walking toward the control deck, his thoughts calm, but alert. Their bond was stronger than ever. No machine could explain it. No science could break it, and that scared the elders. But something else was watching. Jake stopped in the corridor. He felt it. A chill. A whisper at the back of his mind. It wasn't you or Ed. It was something else. He turned quickly, scanning the hallway, but saw nothing. Still, the feeling didn't leave. Zura, he said into the comm, meet me at the engine room. Now. They met in silence. The engine room was dark, filled with soft blue light and low vibrations. Jake didn't waste time. Someone is tracking the bond. Zura frowned. What do you mean? Felt it. Second presence cold. Watching us through the connection. Zura shook her head. That's not possible. The bond is private. Jake looked into her eyes. Not anymore. She felt a tremor in her spine. I've heard stories, Jake said. Long ago, there were creatures and sentient beings that hunted bonded pairs. They fed on their energy. They called them linkators. Zura swallowed hard. That's a myth. Jake's voice dropped. So was soul bonding, till we proved it. Suddenly, the lights flickered. A high-pitched tone filled the room. Zura clutched her head. It's here. Jake held her shoulders. Stay with me. Images flashed in Zura's mind-black teeth, glowing eyes, hundreds of whispers all saying, her name Zura, Zura, Zura. Then silence, and a voice, not hers. Not Jake's, but dark, slow, echoing inside both their heads. You open the door now? I will feed, Zura screamed. Jake collapsed to one knee. The room shook with invisible pressure, and then everything stopped. The lights turned. The air was still, but they both knew. This was only the beginning. Hours later, the elders gathered in secret. Zura and Jake stood before them, explaining what had happened. When they finished, the elders didn't speak right away. Finally, one of them said, It has returned. Jake narrowed his eyes. You knew. Another elder replied, We thought it was only legend, a parasite from the void. It's feeding on rare bonds. Destroyed long ago. Zura stepped forward. It's hunting us now. Then you must leave this ship, said the first elder. Go far. If you stay, you doom us all. Jake grabbed Zura's hand. We'll go. What, we're not running. Zura nodded. We're hunting it. As they prepared to leave, Jake gave Zura a small device. What's this? She asked. Old human tech, he said. It tracks neural pulses. If that thing speaks to us again, we'll know where it's coming from. Zura stared at it. You were ready for this. Jake didn't smile. Lost my first bond. Zura looked at him. Really looked. He never told me how she died. Jake was silent for a moment. She didn't die, he whispered. She became one of them. Zura's eyes widened. Now she understood the fear behind. His calm. The reason he always stayed. Was quiet. He wasn't just protecting her. He was protecting himself from failing again, as their ship detached and flew into deep space. The stars around them seemed to blink like eyes watching, and far away in the void. Between systems, something ancient, something hungry, opened its mouth and whispered, two lights bound together. One bite gave life, the next will take it away. The stars were gone. Only darkness filled the space around their ship. Jake stood at the window, staring into the black void that felt alive. Zura sat behind him, her hands glowing faintly, trying to stay calm. The creature was near. They could feel it, smell it in the air, hear it in their thoughts. It didn't speak words now. It whispered feelings. Cold, hunger, and a promise. You were made to be consumed. We should have destroyed the bond, Zura whispered. Jake shook his head. If we had, we would have lost each other before this even began. Zura looked at him. Her pride was long gone. In its place was something deeper. Not fear, faith. Double quotes. Do you trust me? Jake asked. Zura nodded. With everything? The ship's alarms screamed. The lights dimmed. It was here. The stars bent around the beast's arrival, like space itself was afraid. A giant shape unfolded in the dark, larger than anything they had ever seen. It didn't fly. It moved through. Thought, bending gravity with its presence. It had no face. Only a mouth wide, endless, dripping with shadows. The Linkater Jake stepped forward. It's not after our bodies. Zura nodded. Wants our connection. The bond pulsed between them like a thread of fire. Zura gritted her teeth. So let's give it more than it can handle. They left the ship and floated in space, unprotected. No suits. It's just raw energy. But they weren't dying. The bond kept them alive. They floated closer to the monster. Hands locked, the Linkater roared inside their heads. Fools! You give me power. Jake closed his eyes, then choked on it. Suddenly, he bit Zura's hand, hard, but not to hurt her. It wasn't a new bond. It was a complete one. Zura screamed not in pain, but in power. Their energy exploded between them, forming a spiral of red and silver light. The creature struck its shadow tentacles, lashing forward, but they didn't run. They flew straight into the heart of it. Inside the beast, there was no light, only memories. It showed them the past, thousands of bonded pairs consumed by it. It tried to confuse them. Showed Zura her worst fear, herself, losing control and killing Jake. Showed Jake, the first girl he had matched, now a slave of the creature, begging him to let go. Let her die, the beast whispered. Save yourself. But Jake pulled Zura close. I didn't save the first. I won't lose the second. Their bodies began to glow, bright, blinding, burning. Zura shouted, You wanted our bond? Take it all. And then boom, a wave of white and red light tore through the creature from the inside out. The darkness screamed. The stars returned, and the Link-Eater was gone. Jake and Zura floated in silence. He was bleeding. She was crying, but they were alive. Their bond was quiet now. Not broken, just resting. Back on the ship, Zora wrapped his hand gently. You bit me again? Jake smirked. I warned you. I bite when poked. She smiled, tired but warm. Then I guess I'm yours now. He nodded slowly. You always were. Outside the ship, two stars flickered together, not alone, not afraid, just linked forever.